Like, this isn't my tea, right? Is this my, cute?
Yeah. Get your tea all set. Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm the Witch of Wonderlust. Today I have my friend Adela. She is a medium. I'm gonna have her answer some of your guys' questions that you sent me. So let's get started. We have pound cake, so if you see me munching, that's why. And then she's drinking, because I have iced tea, she's drinking this lavender Earl Grey. Boop. There we go. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been reading and what you do.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Adela Lavine, and I've been reading for professionally going on 16 years. I've always saw stuff my whole life, obviously, right? Like a lot of people say, but I really did. But I grew up in a very religious atmosphere, so I was extremely terrified pretty much my whole life.
Right.
It wasn't until I was actually like around 21, about your age, where I just started to kind of go, I'm gonna give this a go. My mom died when I was 10 days old, and my aunt and uncle raised me from a baby. And I always had dreams of her dying early. Now I know that could sound psychological, which is kind of what I thought. You know, I kind of thought like, you know, my mom died when I was 10 days old, so obviously I have a fear of my mom, the only mom I knew, my aunt, of dying. But I would dream of her dying once a month. But the catch is, my uncle was a dialysis patient who was pretty much, no one knew how long he would live, but I never had a fear of him dying. I always had a feeling he was gonna outlive her.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, nobody did. I mean, it was always centered around, and he lived a normal life actually. He's a pretty extraordinary person, or was an extraordinary person, that he's passed since, but I just had this feeling that he was stronger I just saw like his spirit. I didn't know how to say that at the time. I would have these dreams over and over, like so much she knew. Like she didn't think of it as like premonition.
Right.
If I had someone telling me that, I'd be like,
yeah, what do you mean?
Why do you keep having these dreams? It's freaking me out. So when I was turning 17, she got diagnosed with leukemia. And she died like a year later. I remember the last dream I had of her before that is she fell through the Santa Monica Pier. There was a hole, and I was like, I gotta go and get her. And I saw something that I know now was this being said, you can't go down there. And I was like, she's dead. And that was the last dream I had until she got diagnosed. My uncle like lived 30 years on dialysis. He's like a phenomenon with no kidneys. And so people were like,
no kidneys.
No kidneys.
He doesn't have one?
He didn't have any kidneys. Yeah.
Any kidneys?
No kidneys. So during her dying, I learned things started to open up. Like I started to see her spirit and understand her spirit's alive, but her body's just withering. And I was going through these crazy, crazy things. And obviously it was very hard emotionally, but I definitely woke up in a different way. And then when she passed, I saw her, because somehow I knew I could see her. I kept saying, I know I can see you, just show up. And I would hear, it would scare you. No, it's not gonna scare me. I just want to see you, because I could hear her, but I couldn't see her. So I was in this dream wake state one time, and I heard wind come through my window. I thought my window was open, and I saw her sit on my bed. And I said, and I remember staring at this is why I did a thing on my YouTube about sleep paralysis, because I couldn't move, and I could see like how I'm looking at like a picture on my wall.
Right.
I was like, I know I'm awake, but I can't move. And, but I know I'm awake. I kept telling myself that. And she sat there and she said, everything's gonna be okay. I said, but Daddy's like depressed without you. And she said, he'll be okay. And I like ran around looking for her. That's how much I thought she was in the room. And then so I finally made contact. And after that, I had a lot of dreams with her. She would come to me and she'd tell me stuff about things in my family that I shouldn't have known. But my family wasn't like down with this.
Yeah.
They were
most people probably would be like, that's cool.
No, they were not.
They'd be like, what?
No, they were. I was like, hey, I had a dream, and she said that so-and-so's gonna get this job, and that you had this conversation with this person. And my sister like froze and was like, how did you know that? By the way, everybody, this is pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-knowing anything about it. There was no Facebook. So it was purely like a phone call. That's what started it, and it kept happening that I thought maybe there's something to this.
Right.
And I didn't know anybody. There was no like YouTube, nobody to be like, what is this things that happened to me? I never knew any witches or psychics or anybody like that. And so one day I was working back in the day, the old school Starbucks. I was working at pre frappuccinos and stuff, but I had
This was before the Frappuccino.
But my friend was working there, and I think that's because I'm saying it because it was lax enough where I was on a break and I was like, what? Actually, he wasn't a friend. He's my friend now, but I didn't know him. He just started, and I knew his dad died, so I thought maybe this was a good guinea pig because I didn't know anything about him. I was like, your dad died. I don't know you. You just started here.
Right, but it's like not somebody that you're connected to.
Yeah, because I have a logical side. I have a very strong logical side, so I was like,
which is why I like you, and you're not like.
Right. Yeah. I picked someone, and I knew I was like taking a risk. This guy's gonna be like, get out of my face. You kept seeing this face saying, you know, this, I'm his father, and just tell him. And I got the nerve up, like I think the second or third time. And I walked up to him, and this is Jeff, and Jeff knows he is because I still know Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Anyway, he doesn't mind because I've told this story before. And I said, first I said, you may think I'm crazy, and it's okay. You can tell me screw off. I totally, like, I almost was hoping he was going to say you're crazy.
So then you didn't have to deal with it?
I didn't have to deal with it. Right. I kind of ran from this a lot for a lot of times. And he like was way more into it than I was, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly what he looked like. And I went, wow, that's really awesome. Well, I'm gonna be right back, because I used to smoke, and I went out and I was like smoking.
Oh God,
I came back and he's like, what else? What else do you have to say? And I'm like, you're really like into this. And I said, all right, so your dad says he was a gentle man. I go, so that probably doesn't make sense. And he's like, Adela, on his tombstone it says, here lies a gentle man. And so yeah, so then that's kind of was the beginning of that kind of path, that path. And then that spirit told me, when his dad, and I was smoking in my car, I was like, how do I hear you? What is happening? And he said, you've been tapped. You've always been tapped. Here's the rules. You use our words. You say only what we say. You don't use and here's the biggest thing, your ego needs to go right now. This is not about you. This is your conduit. You're serving for the people, and if you don't get that, basically you'll be reminded, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, and that was the beginning.
So there's an intro. So yes, I have a lot of questions for you from the people, and
awesome.
I know we're not going to get to all of them. I asked on the community tab of my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And let's check how many. Right now I have 205 comments.
Wow.
So unfortunately I don't believe we'll be able to get through all of them.
We're going to be able to get through
we will try to answer the most commonly asked questions.
Right. That's
and probably some of the most relative and interesting. Just so you know, Adela does have a YouTube and an Instagram, and there's also a podcast with her and Dylan, so you get best of both worlds. And I will link everything in the description because all three of those are definitely worth checking out. And she answers things like...
Yeah, I think the last one was what happens to us after we die, which is kind of fitting.
Which is a lot of questions of what we have. She does one of where do we go when we die. She has one on shadow people. She has one on sleep paralysis. So she has a lot of really good information there. So if we don't get to those questions, that's why, because she already did a full like 30-minute video for you on those things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm gonna do eventually live, like on the spot readings, so people can do stuff like that.
Where are you gonna be doing those?
On YouTube eventually. I do live on the spot readings on Instagram too. I can do medium or intuitive answer.
You heard it here first. So the first question is, would it be a good idea to get more into the spirit realm or being psychic? And if so, where would we start on that path?
Oh wow. I don't really believe in saying like what's the better idea. You have to kind of know what you're pulled to. Honestly, to be frank, not everyone who is psychic is a medium, and not everyone's a medium is psychic. I'm an intuitive and a medium, which means I'm basically do both. Not everybody's attracted to both or wants to like even get into both. So
Okay.
you kind of have to know like where you're feeling drawn towards, where you're feeling like things are happening to you.
Right.
Like if you're seeing spirits and seeing things like that, and I want to kind of really make it clear that mediumship is not the same thing as spirit communication. Spirit communication is you can talk to your groups of people anytime you want, and that's what I try to teach people. Like my whole goal of doing this is to go, they didn't just disappear, you have access to them.
Yeah.
Which I want people to have.
Okay.
As a medium, I'm happy to be a medium, but it's not really my main goal, but I'm happy to do, this is what I love doing, is like what that first spirit said, is you use the words of us, and you are talking for us.
Okay.
Right?
So
but you have access to your own
So spirit
people.
communication is me directly speaking to my spirits.
Right. Well,
Whereas,
to me, like, you have access to the spirit world, but mediumship
is
mediating.
somebody speaking through you
Right.
to speak to somebody
Right.
else.
Yeah. Speaking.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking. I don't channel because I know people get very specific about these terms, like speaking through you. I don't want people to think I'm channeling, because in this world that people get very specific.
Okay.
Channeling is like literally taking over the body.
Oh, so like possession.
No, I'm
essentially.
not interested.
Okay, yeah.
Just, like, stay
You
over
can
there.
just tell me.
It's okay. I can
I'll be
hear
the
you
middleman.
just fine.
You don't
For that's what I'm saying. So some people are not interested in being a medium, but if you're interested in the spirit world and you want to kind of know how to see that world more and you really feel drawn to it, then you should go with that. If you want to kind of know the future and know how to hone that, then you should go with that.
Okay.
And how you start is you got to ask yourself which.
Person asks, I would like to know, number one, I see colored flashes of light or colored circles sometimes, and blue and occasionally red one in my third eye or with my physical eyes. Are these my spirit guides? And number two, how should I communicate with them effectively and safely? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Those flashes are definitely, I see those too. I see spheres, and blue is definitely of a higher being. Red sometimes can even be like a passionate thing. They're trying to give you a message of their presence, but really it's trying to help guide you.
Okay.
Guides, spirit guides, I have a little different belief, because I used to hear spirit guides separately, but when they showed me that it's a collective whole that's actually working with you, and when they separate themselves, is because they want to separate themselves, because that's what we understand. So they may appear in the way you like. On a wizard, they'll appear, they're like, listen, I'll be a wizard, because they're just energy. So
Right.
they can just take any form they want to get you to listen to them. But
Okay.
eventually they will ease you into like be one with all of us.
How would they communicate with them?
Just talk to them.
Just straight up,
Yeah.
hey.
People just don't talk back. They see cool stuff and then they just don't do anything.
You
back.
said something. You said something on the podcast, on the Witch and the Medium podcast, that
Yeah.
really, that I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Is when you said it's like when you send out a text message or you call somebody and they don't pick up or respond.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going to keep sending text messages?
Yeah. Well,
Unless it's really important, you know, like it's kind of like they're trying to communicate with you and you're not sending that text message
Yeah.
back. And you're just leaving it on red.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like they're
Yeah.
like, well, I know you saw me.
yeah, they're like, I can tell you, you know, I see you, I hear you, right? But your voice is a vibrational energy.
Okay.
So when you're speaking out loud, which by the way, you don't have to speak out loud, you can telepathically, and that's like a text to them, and they love that too. But when you sometimes be like, hey mom, hey so-and-so, got it. They like, it vibrates into their energy. They're just pure energy. So your voice it's almost like you're having that connection.
So this person says, I would love to know who my spirit guides is or are. So you said it was more of a group of energies, right?
Yeah.
So is there, my question is kind of like, a lot of people believe, oh, this certain deity or like my ancestors or my grandmother is my spirit guide. What do you,
Yeah.
what's your view on that?
Yeah, so the spirit guides are introducing you to hearing and seeing
Okay.
and seeing through that veil. The message I've gotten is don't worry about who we are. Just feel and just connect and just allow that knowing to
Okay.
come.
And just understanding that you do have
You
those
do-
spirits
you
with
do
you. It
have-
doesn't matter who they are.
No, it doesn't matter. You have. That's why the whole thing is you're not alone. So that's why it's like, yeah, whatever you want to call them. They're like, we're gonna, whatever.
They don't care.
They
Okay.
just want to help. They just
Right.
want to help. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So don't worry about who they are, just connect with them.
Yeah, talk.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this person says, I've tried so many different ways of trying to contact spirits. I call out to them, but they do not contact me, and it's really discouraging to call out for so long and hear nothing in return. I keep telling myself, maybe I'm just not ready to have them in my life, but my magic is suffering and overall making me spiral a little lacking that. I don't feel any energy from the spirit world like I used to. Any advice?
I know people have this idea, you know, you call out, but the thing is that in order to hear that realm, it's not just from here, you have to feel.
Okay.
It really comes from the heart. Compassion and empathy is the biggest message I get told from that realm that we need to have. So my feeling, and I'm just going to say my feeling of this person is they are suffering from a lot of pain and they need to go into healing and to open the heart. You open that heart because they are not, empathy and compassion is the biggest message.
Okay.
And I get the feeling this person might be going through that. And so if you start to go inside, and biggest thing is we don't have the most compassion for ourselves and empathy for ourselves. So empathy for yourself and compassion for yourself. And so maybe they need to heal and start to do some healing things, because that realm is always reaching out. But if they can't, just like in life, if you're trying to connect with someone, they're like, boom.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm told that I can hear spirit, and I've always been told that I can heal people, but I'm not interested in Reiki or healing in that way, and I want to be a medium. So I want to know about the spirits on the other side, and I want to communicate with the spirits and pass on messages. How can I go about this?
Well, like I said, a medium isn't something you just decide to do.
Okay.
Honestly, it is something that is happening to you, and you have to take it very seriously. Talking to your people, seeing things and kind of knowing they're there, even if they're not your people, is different. But that world's very strict about if you're going to speak for us, take it seriously.
It's like a job, essentially.
It is,
like
yeah,
you
it's
have
a dedication.
Yeah.
Like I've dedicated my life to that.
Right.
I've had a lot of loss, so that's one of the reasons, and I know that pain. And so you have to come at it from that respectful place, and mediating is not the same thing as like, oh, it's cool looking at spirits.
Right.
So I would say that, you know, you don't have to listen to what people tell you. People are going to tell you all kinds of things. And if you feel drawn to that realm, you should start looking into that realm.
I like this one. How do you know when an entity is trying to contact you? I think something is, but I'm worried I might be overthinking things.
When a spirit's trying to contact you, they'll give you a lot of signs and, you know, things that definitely sync up. And overthinking, I know that's the biggest part, that's the biggest hurdle, is your mind gets in your way. So one of the ways I tell people when you're having that battle is as you're falling asleep, ask to speak to, and I'm assuming this is a spirit that they want to talk to, someone who's passed, ask to speak to them as you're falling asleep. Because as you're falling asleep, your brain starts to kind of shut off and stop arguing with you, and your spirit opens up to it. That's why things happen at 3 a.m. That's why things happen at night. It's not because it's so spooky. It's because the world gets quiet. That realm is in this realm constant. They're finally like, finally, I can get to you. So if you want to kind of see if it's really happening, maybe talk to them as you're falling asleep. Put protection around you, whatever you believe in, and then ask them to talk to you while you're falling asleep, and you may connect. When you talk to spirits in dreams, you're going to that realm.
What's a good practice for focusing one's thoughts and attention while working in divination? I've tried meditation and always seem to get really close to what sounds like a loud crowd of people talking and yelling at once, and I can never focus on one voice.
Divinations, I mean, they're using something.
I'm not sure.
Because divination isn't like using
Yeah.
tools. So I'm not a person who uses divination, but it sounds like they're trying to say they speak to spirits through divination or something. Do you think?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah. I can't really help you with using tools because I don't use tools. But I would say if they're all talking to you at once, that is how it happens, and you have to.
Can you ask them?
Or it took me. So the way I read is, I ask who you want to speak to, anyone you want to speak to, and it can be at last minute you want. I want to speak to my mom, I want to speak to my dad, I want to speak to my friend, and I speak to that person. But it took me years to know how to only speak to that person.
Right.
They do come in like that. They all want to talk. So yeah, so I would just say if they need to just keep owning it. Yeah.
All right. How can I strengthen my connection with the spirit or spirit realm? Is just kind of like
The first thing is talk to them.
Yeah,
This is
so just communicate
People
with them.
think it's a big to-do, but it's really just talk to them, and then when you get those signs, talk back.
Okay.
And say, that was awesome, I know that was you, please continue to do more.
I need to get better at that because I see dimes everywhere.
Yeah, that's a fun thing.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they like to do that.
Everywhere, yeah, and it's usually like when I'm kind of like down in my own
That's
gut,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and that
Yeah.
I've taken that now as a sign of like, if I'm kind of like, am I doing the right thing, or like, you know,
That's
if
right.
I'm questioning myself,
Yeah, that's right.
that's usually my confirmation of like, you're
Yeah.
fine, you're on the right
So then
path.
when, from now on, you do it, you say, this is awesome, can you do more? And then
Okay.
there'll be another type of thing like that.
Okay. How can you tell when there's a presence near you? Is there a certain feeling, or is it different for each spirit?
It's not really different for each spirit, it's different for each person.
Okay.
So some people may get like a warm feeling. I think people think that spirits like come into the space, but what you got to realize is they're a vibration. They're in this, look at it like an onion, where there's an onion and they're on the outer layer of the onion.
It's like an
So
ogre.
it's a world within a world, right? And so, like a what? What did you say? Like a yogurt?
No, I said it's like an ogre from Shrek, because he's like, ogres are like. I'm sorry.
I love that movie.
Me
Yes. So when they're trying to make their presence known, they're raising their vibration. They're making it like vibrate.
So that's why
they-
some people will hear things or like see different like densities in the air or
Right.
something, or like feel something.
They
Like
feel
your
something.
neck, your hair on
That's
your
right,
neck.
because
It's
it's
like,
electricity. It's,
Yeah.
it's energy. They're coming at a very fast speed.
Right.
Shh. And we're like, appearing is very hard for them because they have to slow their vibration down for you to see them.
Oh, and that's why they look
you
like
see it
that's why they
glitching,
look
like,
shaky or
right,
something.
because they're like, okay, I'm slowing it down as much as I can, and
Interesting.
I can't keep it up too long.
Interesting. Okay.
The other reason is it freaks people out.
Yeah,
So,
right, yeah.
Everybody says they want it. and
Go away, Ron.
that people get scared, but for everyone it may feel different. Some people might feel warm, some people may feel like a touch. I've gotten lots of pokes, and touching almost feels like water's running down. So you can set your rules and your parameters of like, I don't like the poking, I don't like the touching. If you just want to send some like, nature my way, if you just want a song to come on, but if you like it, you'll know. But yeah, I think people need to more, like, you want to more try to feel it, but if you feel like there's something, it probably is.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people too, because I know that especially when people first jump into, or not jump, or like start dwelling into this, and a lot of the time I will see people like, oh, this is a sign, that's a sign, this is a sign,
Right,
this is a sign.
it has to be logical.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like you do have to take a logical
No, you
step
can't make
to it.
everything a sign. The
Right.
signs are like, let me give you an example of a sign real
Okay.
quick. It was Mother's Day recently. I have a particular song I have with my mom who raised me, my aunt. It's been the same song since I was 18, since when I was like, as life sucks, and I was like driving around like, fuck the world, and the song came on. And it's been that same song. And it's come on at weird times, and it's come on at like in elevator music version, which this song is not really elevator music at all.
Yeah.
It's a very popular song in the 70s. And on Mother's Day, I like to do a thing called music shuffle with the spirit world. I used to,
I don't remember, shufflemancy or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, there it is?
It's a form of divination.
what?
That's a modern thing. It's
That-
very
what?
Yeah, people
Because
will use
I've
that.
been doing this for years. Okay.
Well, then
I didn't
you're
know it had a title.
look hipster. No. You're just a hipster shuffle man. Like been doing it years
I'm
before
not
it was cool.
a hipster. I was doing
Before
it
it was cool.
way back. Exactly. I was
That's
like,
what a
I've been
hipster
doing
would
it
say.
for like 20 years. There was no even title. I swear you could. I have witnesses. But I like did it for myself. I didn't mean to, actually. I wasn't purposely doing it.
Right.
I just hit shuffle for music, and that song was the first song that popped on Mother's Day. And so
that's
that's
like,
a sign.
No.
But if when you're like, listen, I was thinking, so what happens is the spirit world, what they do is they'll put them into your thoughts, because it can telepathically go into your mind, and there's no time there, so they know like this person's about to walk by you. It's like the Matrix. They can see it, and that person's going to yell out a name, and that's going to be like their name.
Right.
And so they purposely go, and then it's like Tom, and they're like, oh my God, it's so weird. I was just thinking about my dad, and someone just yelled out Tom.
Yeah.
That's a sign. But if you're going like, oh my gosh, I just saw like two birds sit on top of, you know, the car.
Right.
Like, and there's millions of birds, you know, you might be fishing.
I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was. You're a medium. Help me out. Okay.
They're not about love you, or they're like, remember. You have to do the work
who you are.
to remember. Like, you got to remember who you are and have compassion for the fact that this world is a little rough.
What's been a really common theme in the past few months of my life is people are telling me that they're like, I'm having to unlearn things from what I've been taught growing up.
That's right.
And I'm in my 20s. I feel like everybody in their 20s are like, I'm thinking for myself now. But it's kind of like, you think about, you know, like that's the transition point of your life, is when you come back and you think about, these things have been taught to me. These aren't the things that I actually believe that I actually am. The things that I actually accumulate of, these things have just been taught to me. And now I'm unlearning those things and having to figure out what I actually came from.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
deep.
That's what they want you to do.
Wow. Okay.
That whole message of that world is not about oppression and control. It's been changed into that through religion. That world wants to free people. It's just spiritual leaders and teachers and seers. We're just supposed to unlock. You're not supposed to tell people what to do. You're just supposed to unlock and say, go fly. And that's what I love, to see someone go fly.
Yeah.
And so that world is like, go fly, like you've been bound by this world. The point was of this coming to this world is to the challenge of this limitations of the material plane.
Okay.
Right? We all said, listen, we all know that place is crazy. We're not gonna be able to fly. We're not gonna be able to telepathic communicate. We're not gonna be able to do anything. It's really limited there.
Right.
Don't forget. And then we're like, I'm not gonna forget. And then you go and you're like, I
forgot.
Right? And they're trying to go like, hey, wake up,
Remember.
wake up. Right.
Do you believe in heaven and hell, and do you believe in reincarnation? And I think you already answered the heaven and hell part. I don't think you do, but I shouldn't speak for you.
She is absolutely right.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm like, let me tell you what she believes.
If I believed in heaven and hell, I'd be worried about me right now. No, I do not believe in heaven and hell. We create our own heaven. So when people pass, and let's say you're just this horrible, because I had to say, I don't want people to think like, oh, someone does horrible things, they're just skipping through the lily fields on the other side.
Right.
If people are these people, you have a choice to evolve and open your consciousness in that realm. So if you've done all these horrible things, you have to stand in the middle of what you've done and feel what every single person has felt that you have touched. So people choose to grow, and they go, you know what, you know, let's say it's just, you know, my family or something. But some people choose not to, and then they will live in that hell of absentee of light.
So it's almost like they sent out all of those negative vibrations, and now it's kind of like all coming.
Right.
You have to.
Right. They always describe it to me like standing on stage, and all of that energy is coming at you, and you're having to see
throwing those tomatoes.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah, exactly. And some people can choose to evolve, and some people choose not to, and so you create your own heaven as well. You know how like painters can just think of something and they paint? Well, in that world, you just think of what you want and it creates around you. And that's why I was telling you Dreams May Come is actually a very good movie.
So that sounds a lot like the astral.
It's very similar because I kind of see things very much like quantum physics and kind of like dimensions and stuff. So yeah, it is energy. So we just aren't limited to the like I have to go build it now. Right. You're like,
get a hammer and a nail.
Right, yeah. They're like, oh, I like that house when I was growing up, and it appears just like in dreams.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, do you believe in reincarnation? So I guess that's kind of
I don't believe in reincarnation.
Okay.
I know that's like
everybody's like, what?
I know. I get a lot of freaked outness in the traditional sense.
Right.
In the sense that we're like recycled, because there's plenty of room in other dimensions, other worlds, and you still grow and learn in that space. This is kind of like the hardest one. This is kind of like boot camp of all the other dimensions. So
if you're watching this, you just give yourself a pat on the back.
So yeah, not in a traditional sense. I am going to do a video on it because I know it's a big doozy. I get a lot of, believe me, in the world I'm in with other readers, I've got people not like it, but I've looked into it, and it just, for me, and I would say this is for me, it just doesn't make sense for me from what I've seen.
Right.
But I feel like, and the other reason is because in that realm, let's say you haven't been born and I've passed, and I say to you, hey, do you want to take a trip through my life? And you're like, sure. And you can live my life like you lived it. That's how intense it is. That's how I see the spirits show me. I can see their houses that they grew up in, right? So then you get born and you go and meet a family member, or you go to where I used to live and you're like, I really feels familiar. I feel like I know you.
Weird. And I know that all y'all have had that.
Yeah.
I know that. Because I've had that, and every person that I've met has always been like, there's this one place. How do you balance living your real life, and how much does your spiritual practice affect it?
Oh my God, yeah.
You're like, this is my life.
No, that's a good question. It is really hard, but the way I balance is like, play Fortnite. It's very grounding.
Heard it here first as well. That's first and foremost how to ground. Fortnite.
But seriously, I do things like that. Like I kind of look at it like when I'm doing my work, I'm out in the world doing my work, and then when I walk in the door, I take that off and I put on this other person that's like, I'm gonna watch bad TV or good TV. The human side needs to be adhered to.
Yeah.
And I kind of know when the other side, it's taken me a long time. It's not always easy. The only time I have a really hard time is I don't ever sleep through the night. And I can't block that realm through the night.
Right.
I wake up every night between 3 and 5, every single night, without fail. And so, so that part, sleep is very hard. Actually, I don't sleep very good at all, and I haven't mastered that yet. I'm still working on it, and I haven't quite figured it out. Maybe one day. But other than that, I totally believe in, and that realm has told me over and over, honor your human side, you can't spiritualize and actualize yourself through everything.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good question.
That is a really good question.
I'm conscious of it for sure.
How do I know if there are spirits in my home, and if so, what should I do?
There's always spirits in your home.
In every home.
If you don't want them to make their presence known to you, if you don't know, then they're not bothering you.
Yeah.
Right? If you have to go like, how do I know? Then they're not bothering you. So just know that that realm is in this realm all the time. And if they're not making their presence known to you, then I guess you're okay. But if you want to make sure, you can just set that parameters of like taking incense. I kind of use frankincense and myrrh, resin with hot coal. That's what I use. I like it smoky. But you can use like anything you want, like spray, anything you feel works in your home for you. But it's more important about the intent, speaking to that realm and saying, I do not want you to show your presence to me, and get out. Get out just means like, let it be, just stop, don't show your presence. But you can say, get out, remove your energy, lower your energy, I don't want to know. If you have to ask, then I guess they're not bothering you.
Right.
So
I know that this is probably going to show up eventually, but then, if you do have a spirit that you're like, what you call bad boys and girls, right?
Yes.
If you're like, I don't want your presence to be known, or like I don't want you to be, bothering me at all, and they proceed, what would you?
Okay, so that's a good question. I have a video on paranormal activity. If you're having paranormal activity, which is a little more intense, things like, but yeah, if it continues to happen, I would, usually they're usually pretty good, but you have to kind of do it a few times. I mean, I do cleansings, I remove them. I'm sure there's other people in your area that can remove them, but just make sure you're getting a legit person. Right. But usually, like, if you kind of, like, this is why I did a video on paranormal activity, and actually this has been a question, so the video after this one, I'm gonna do, like, cleansing.
Okay.
Like how to just cleanse.
Cool.
Pretty much they'll follow, it should subside.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, you set the parameters, you're like, get out. You can't be like, hey, listen, I know that you're dead and I'm really sorry. This is what people tell me they do. You need to be like, get
So you need to like set those commands and be like, this is my home, get out.
You have to say, get out.
So how many different realms do you believe in? Would the Fae be in the same realm as those who died?
Anybody who knows how many, I'm real leery about that.
Yeah.
Because there's really no way to know. Right. I can't tell you a number. If I said I knew a number, I think I would be lying. Crap.
Yeah.
There's so many different dimensions. The Fae, the fairy realm, from what I have seen, it's not in the same realm, but there are like, let's say it's like neighbors, so they kind of, they can see of each other much better than we can see of each other.
Right.
We can see those
Okay.
realms.
How do you tell if other mediums are faking it?
Oh, that's a really good
I
one.
like that question.
Okay, here we go. If they ask you to bring a picture or any type of form of anything, like a picture, or say, or they ask you how they died, if they ask you a million questions before the reading or during the reading, you should be able to sit down and just, some of them can't, most, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but most mediums don't say, tell me who you want to talk to and I'll talk to them. And that's okay. They may just say, I'm going to tell you what I see. If they tell you they don't want to talk to you, that's because they can't do it. If they tell you that they're mad at you, don't believe that. That's because they can't talk to them. If they tell you that they're moved on and can't talk to you, any form of they can't talk to you. Because how would you know? You'd be like, well, I guess the medium told me they want to talk to me, so I guess they don't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. Not true. They all want to talk. So if they're asking for a bunch of information up front, very big sign of especially when they're like, bring a picture. If they say bring an object and they just want to hold it, a lot of people do that type, that's fine. But really be leery of a bunch of information. Even if you're booking the reading and they're like, can you send a picture? Can you send their name?
So the battery shut off and we had to recharge the camera, but we definitely did not get through all 200 and then some of questions. A lot of them are generally the same about shadow people or connecting with spirits or what you believe is on the other side and things like that. And she has a YouTube channel that she does post on, as well as the podcast, and you can also follow her on Instagram. So again, all of those links will be below, and make sure to go over there, give her a follow, and ask her questions because she's really, really good at answering those. Thanks for being here and answering all of our questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
No problem.
And I hope, like she said, like I feel like a lot of those questions were like the umbrella of a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I did like what happens is after we die, part 1, because it is so much to cover, and I'm going to do a part 2 this following week. But it's all good. You can like send your questions over. I like answering them. So Thanks for having me.
No problem. Well, other than that, I will see you next week. Best of luck. Be kind to each other, and may your gods treat you as you treat others. Bye.